and roll.
Ready? Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm looking for approval of the minutes of December 14th regular board meeting, January 11th special board meeting, as were listed in your packet.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Thank you. On December 8th and December 14th, there was electronic communications that happened between some of the board. I need approval to enter those into the minutes, of course, by version of the Sunshine Law.
So move.
Second. Oh, Ed's got it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of January bills, which is $1,308,834.27.
That's a lot of money.
Is that was the most recent one? Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
So moved.
second that.
Are there any questions before we vote, or that you didn't get answered prior to the meeting? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of the monthly finance report.
So moved. Wait a second. Let me try to find it again now.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Or nay? Thank you. Approval of the federal program review, which was in your packet as well.
So move. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Were there any questions about the federal program review?
No.
Seems
No.
pretty straightforward.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstaining? Thank you. And approval of the health and service program review as well.
Make a motion, we accept it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Were there any questions about that? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed or abstaining? Next, I look for a motion to approve the regular agenda as written.
So there's going to have to be at least one change, right? Because 9B, the superintendent won't be here, right?
I believe that Dr. Lorenz is going to give some highlights of her report as well.
Okay,
So,
cool.
in her stead.
As best I can.
So instead of Dr. Carol Mayer, it's
So-
just Dr. Lennon.
So Dr. Lorenz will be covering points A and B.
Is there any other changes to it?
I do not have any, sir.
Okay.
Does 10B, do we need to knock that off for now?
When we get there, if we choose not to move on that, then we can table, or we can take a motion to do something else at that time.
Okay.
Any more questions or additions? Then I am still looking for someone to make a motion and, of
So
course,
moved.
second.
Second.
All those in favor of the agenda as written with the minor correction?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving along to reports. Dr. Lorenz, times two, please, sir.
Just a couple of things from me. All the 5 trailers that were in question are moved off campus now, so
All right.
5 down, 5 to go. Demolition of the property on Odell Street is moving along nicely. Quite a bit of it's on the ground. They're just working to clean it up before they start into the foundation. Doors and windows at the nursing building have been installed. Work out there is continuing to move at a good pace. I don't know if I reported that before, but the AC units at Eastwood are still being installed. I hope to have those done over the next month or so. So obviously, we won't need any AC right now, but still need that.
What's the holdup on that? Because we've been hearing that for at least 2 months, that the AC, it's gonna get done, and we're still.
Some of it was parts, some of it was just time. They, with school in session, they're having to work nights and weekends, and they have to break, that's the same problem we had with the heating side. They'd have to break out their equipment, and then they'd have to get it all picked back up and cleaned back up every time they work on it. So a little bit of it's timing, some of it's waiting on a bigger and better break. A little bit of it was supply chain parts, but they have some of them done. They just don't have all of them quite done yet.
How many they got left to do?
I'll have to check and get back with you.
All right, thank you.
Let's see. The HVAC that we were waiting for a long time for a part, that was for the HVAC in the middle of the northwest building. It's up and going now. The gym lights at Beaker have been replaced with LED lighting. We had, and I think I reported before, but we had some roof damage on the old dietary building that we own out there out here on this property, and Rimco's in the process of getting that taken care of when the weather breaks. We're going to have to replace the unit over the auditorium at Beaker. We're in the process of that. We are cleaning and repairing drapes we have about 5, I believe, locations that have a stage that have drapes on them. And we're going to start doing those, try to do one a year and move our way around. We're going to start with the high school. It's a clean mend, it's a clean mend, and then there's a spray with, there's a fire retardant spray that goes on it as well. So it just was a good time. If we can work it out with Ms. Tottingham and the play, either before or after the play, those drapes are in need of some repair and some cleaning. So we're going to start with the high school this year. We'll probably go to Beaker next year.
When you said one at a time, you're saying one building at a time?
Yeah, one building at a
Yeah,
time.
okay.
It was pretty pricey to do it.
I bet, but that's a great thing,
Yeah,
that's
it's pretty
awesome.
pricey. And the high school and Beaker are both the two most expensive ones, so I just split them up, and we're just going to do them on a rotation.
It's good.
I know Dr. Mayer isn't here, of course, and this is probably something I would normally ask her, but the replacement of the HVAC unit, is that something we can probably wrap into maybe some of our ESSER or CARES money as well?
Yeah, we will be
I
able
was
to.
thinking.
We will be able to.
Okay.
Yes. And along with that, I had spoke about the elevator out here. If you're agreeable, we can move forward on this elevator needs the same kind of treatment that the Beaker elevator received, and we can use either district funds or ESSER funds for that as well, or federal funds for that as well. So if there's no problem with that, I can begin the bid process on the fixing this thing. This thing needs some help.
Will that keep the door from open?
It might keep the door from opening up in the middle of the meeting. I don't know, but. Let's see. Last thing I had was, we'd spoke about the SRO officer, Mr. Wright will be leaving us at the end of the year. We talked about maybe this is the time to move, to add that extra body because we're at multiple locations with the high school. If no one has any disagreement with that, I can begin that process. It'd be an interview process and what have you, and that we'd have to work. They would work the remainder of this year. Keith was 9 month, I believe, so it would go to the end of the school year. So we would, if we can find the right person, the right fit, and everybody's agreeable, I can begin that process as well.
I guess one of my questions is, I don't think we can never have enough safety in today's world, and especially as we have kids really spread out, times 4 of what we've been doing. How has transportation been with the fairgrounds and things? I think that's one of my biggest concerns is kids getting in and out of that building with the highway there. Would that person that we hire be helpful out there, or where will we put them to work the rest of the year?
We could put them out there. It would probably just be an extra body in one of the
Around,
buildings,
okay.
probably either there or Martin Center, an extra body.
Okay.
Because a lot of times the administrator or the secretary is working the table with class changes and different things, so it would just help, another body just helps.
Okay.
So,
I just wanted to add, I have noticed that the police department has been out helping with traffic control
Yeah.
quite a bit on 65 at the Martin Center and around, and so I do appreciate that effort that they've been chipping in with us as well on that. So when I leave town in the morning, I see them as early as 6 o'clock in the morning, and they are there when school's coming in and when school's getting out in the
Definitely
evening.
there.
So I appreciate that help through the city. Thank you.
They lowered the speed limits too. and
Yes.
it's,
Yeah, our city's probably benefiting from that speed change, I would say, from what I've seen.
I see the lights on every now and then. That's all.
and that's all I have, unless if anyone had any questions, any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
I think it'd be good to note that this area out here to the north of us in this building looks fantastic, where they've taken the buildings down and how they prepared the land. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, it certainly changed the look of it out here.
Man,
Odell Street is unrecognizable.
it is also,
Headed
right?
towards
Yeah,
Beaker now, too.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
looks a lot different just as of yesterday.
yeah.
What's the time frame on getting that cleaned and get it ready for the kids? We're putting that as like a playground?
Oh,
You know?
well,
Green space.
when they awarded the bid, they said they were going to work on it this winter and get it done this winter, so it's going to, they made a big showing with the structural part, and it came down. It'll slow down when they start pounding on that foundation, because part of the bid was that foundation has to go, because there's no certainty about what you guys want to do in the future, and I don't want to have a foundation under there, so when he gets to the foundation, it'll slow down.
Yeah.
So, and then the backfill will take a while too. So I would hope by the time the weather gets nice, they're working on backfilling and packing it in there. So when we finish, it'll be backfilled and then compacted and just gravel over the top of it for now, so we don't have any kind of safety hazards out there.
And just to be clear, we have not made any plans, or we have not decided what exactly the green space is going to look like. We are just trying to get it down to a suitable place to start from scratch and then go from. So
Correct.
before anyone believes that the school district is working on something else, we're not yet. Thank you.
Gotcha. Thank you for the clarification, Mr. President.
No problem. Just saving your stops at
Leslie,
Walmart.
can you open up
Yeah, right.
PowerPoint? Can you open up PowerPoint? Hold on, let me back the projector up a little bit.
So while we're having a few technical difficulties loading the superintendent's report, I'm going to skip over that and move to the other reports that were in your packet from the CTA, the Professional Development Special Services Director, and the Director of Teaching and Learning. I do not see the CTA rep in here tonight, and their report was pretty brief that they were going to be doing some stuff here in the future, but they hadn't really done anything through the month yet. Professional Development, PDC, did have a pretty detailed report on what they had been doing as far as the training, different days that we were around. Special Services Director, of course, Grace is here this evening. Did anyone have any questions about her report or anything they wanted her to clarify, or did you have anything you wanted to add or make sure we understood correctly in your report?
No, talent ed is probably the thing on the report that I'm most excited about, but, business
Talent Ed was that was the grant that we received, right, for recruiting, which was somewhere around, I think, $96,000, if I remember reading that correctly, which is directly tied to just bringing in new educators within the district, if I read that correctly and understood that correctly. Okay. So that was a grant that was applied for. Was that just on your behalf, or was that a combination of you and Ms. Jacoby as well? That's what I thought. It was in her report, I thought, but you just wanted to make sure we got it in there, huh?
I was the one who was excited about talent ed and bringing that on.
Okay, all right, so that was included in Ms. Jacoby's report, and there were actually 2 grants that were mentioned in there that she has been awarded and finalizing work on those, so one of which was Talent Ed, and there was a second as well, so. Does anyone have any questions about those reports? If not, or any more comments they'd like to make? Otherwise, we're looking for motions to accept those.
No, we didn't.
No.
Oh, never mind, we just give those, excuse me.
That's not actually,
Are you ready now?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just going to, for the
I was
benefit
looking
of the
for
view-
motion,
for the
Dr.
benefit of the viewing crowd, I'll do the best I can to
All
read
right.
some of these points. The number of faculty and staff absence from school due to sickness affects the district's ability to maintain an option for students to attend class. The adult absences create a situation where students may not be supervised effectively. The district will close for the number of days deemed appropriate by the administration. AMI or remote learning will take place if students and adults are prepared to move to that type of delivery of instruction. This means there are an adequate number of working devices in student and adults' possessions for teachers and learners to be connected. Also necessary is sufficient preparation time for teachers to plan lessons and/or activities. These determinations will be made by the administrative team. There was, I think this comes up a little bit later in some action items. This is just some information about legal and auditing bids. Legal services, there were 3 bidders, Ed Council, Gwen Mundorf and Tuthkini. Ed Council hourly rate came in at $190 to $210. Gwen Mundorf hourly rate came in from $175 to $235. Tuthkini, our current legal service, came in at $195 to $285. Goes on to say the district's in the middle of litigation on 2, possibly 3 issues. Our current legal representation is thoroughly knowledgeable of and has been significantly involved in all of these cases. I recommend the district continue the work with our current law firm. The auditing services bids, 2 bids came in, Gertie Cording and Chitwood, our current firm. Their fee was $14,000. Second bid was Westbrook and Company. Their bid was $16,900. Gertie Cording Chitwood has been helpful not only during the audit process, but whenever we have questions throughout the year. I recommend the district continue the work with our current auditing firm. Dr. Merritt will be beginning discussion with the CTA on the salary and benefits package. Marshall currently base sets at $37,000. She lists off a number of surrounding schools and their base. Did you want me to read those?
There's 14 schools listed on, that she lists on here, and it appears that we are pretty much middle ground. Just by glancing at it, actually on the high end.
Yeah, we're
There are
high.
only 3 schools that actually start of the surrounding 14 that are actually higher than us currently as far as base salary.
So I do have a question. In the State of the State address that the governor spoke this week,
Yeah.
he mentions that he's moving, how does that, he says that base salaries are moving to 38 across the state, but how does he have jurisdiction of that?
He's
Or
going to
will
work,
the-
he's going to work with DESI and the legislature to make it happen.
To put that in the budget?
But that's
Well,
a
but-
little ways down the road.
Yeah.
Well,
what I
yeah, so it would be,
understand-
I mean, it would be New Year, but how does that, he gives the district,
A grant,
He
basically.
also followed that up with, he was very much in favor of passing the entire funding formula.
Yeah.
Which would in turn put enough, well,
Allow us.
if it was dedicated, if the additional amount of funding formula was dedicated to salaries, it would bring a lot of the districts up to the 38,000 that he was
okay,
shooting for.
I just was curious how that affected district to district when you see that and you hear that.
Yeah.
Of course, I understand the budgeting process and we're
Yeah,
several months out, but.
it's pretty disheartening to hear that Missouri's 50th out of 50
It's terrible.
in salaries for teachers, base salary for teachers.
We've actually fallen from our 47th and 48th position now, so.
Yeah.
Yep, it's terrible.
The next 3 slides are dealing with the strategic plan, Marshall Public Schools strategic plan. It's important for the MPS strategic plan to be complete and published prior to the change in administration in July. The job of superintendent is challenging enough without having to tackle the strategic planning process as a new administrator in the district. The MPS current plan is at an appropriate stage and now needs the board to take ownership of it and finish the document to reflect the expectations and hopes of the community. To do this in a timely and elevated way, it is recommended that a professional education organization assists to finish the process. This expenditure does not need to be an action item as the final cost is not at the level of mandatory bidding. members, the proposal that she's putting forward is members of the Education, Governance, and Leadership Team, EGL, a company, and I found out a little bit more about them from her. This is a group of retired superintendents out of Kansas City area. This is what they do. They're pretty professional. We have attesting to that from Fulton, who used them very recently, and they were very pleased with the resulting outcome. But the EGL team will meet with the school board on February 22nd to discuss the process outlined in this proposal and answer questions from board members. Members of the EGL team will spend time in the district conducting individual interviews with board members, the superintendent, and administrators selected by the superintendent and/or Board of Education. The focus of the interviews will be discussing goals for the district and the contents of the current MPS strategic plan. Wait a second, Wes. Members of the EGL team will conduct a second 3-hour work session leading the board through the process of discussing the results of the interviews. This discussion will focus on goals proposed in the interviews and potential refinement of the current MPS strategic plan. Members of the EGL team will present a final report to the school board at a meeting of their choice. This presentation will include a written work product to be utilized by the district. This process will be completed no later than June 2022. The Board of Education may choose to expedite the process. The board president, superintendent, or designee will have unlimited electronic access to members of the EGL team throughout this process. The flat fee cost for this service is $2,950. There are no additional fees for expenses. District may choose to utilize Title 2A or ESSER funds for payment.
It's less than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think she had checked around, and this was,
And this is merely a consulting to help finish the CSIP and such. They are going to come and outline a proposal. We can listen to the proposal. It does not mean we have to purchase or buy. They're going to come explain how that would work to us on the 22nd if we were so interested. So I don't want anybody to think that we've already agreed to do anything. This is just to help finish the strategic plan that we have to make sure it's in line with the
How
CSIP
does
and where
this
it's supposed to
differ
be.
from what we already did?
Some of the process could be redundant due to the fact that we have already
It all
brainstormed and
looks
set out.
redundant to me. We've already done this.
We have not completed this as well, though.
Well, it sounds like they won't complete it either. They're just gonna show us how we can complete it. But we didn't undertake, I mean, it's a strategic plan. It is not it's not CSIP.
Right, but that is what has to
So-
be in place according to guidelines.
The CSIP basically goes away and is replaced by the strategic plan.
Right,
But
By
we-
July 1.
right.
But we haven't.
But
It is not complete, no.
How is it not complete? What
was-
what
there-
what is the final, what,
There are action steps that have to be added on to it that we haven't finished with it.
okay, I misunderstood that, because I thought that we'd spent all those hours in that room and discussed all this and did all these things and wrote all this stuff out, and then we presented it to the superintendent for the final steps, so I'm confused on what has to be
And
done.
why we gotta go pay $3,000
To
come
do it
in,
again.
Do it again.
So when we meet with them on the 22nd, I would suggest that we all review the work that we've done. I'll ask her to send the strategic plan out to us all, and then also to list the steps or the final things that are supposed to be missing from the plan.
Okay.
So-
Is this?
So is there an example of a strategic plan that's completed somewhere that we can see?
Yes,
Maybe we can get a hold of that?
Yeah.
That would be great, because this doesn't sound like any strategic plan I've ever had my eyes on.
Yeah,
well, and
different from.
if they're gonna come and pitch us, why can't we have more than one company who does this pitch us?
you're welcome to look into that, and I'm fine with that.
Okay, cool. We find some
I
spare
just-
time
I
and
didn't
Do the admin's job.
So,
June 22nd?
February
February
22nd.
February.
And there's not a time listed on here, so there'll have to be some other information. I'll have her send out an informational email, which will include the current strategic plan, where it sits, the unfinished steps of the plan as it sits, and also, was there anything else I need to add there? And if we, and a copy
completed
of
one.
a completed one
Yeah, that
for
looks like-
reference.
'Cause I must be confused on what goals look like that don't have
Well, and not
things
all-
finished on it.
Not all districts are doing a quote-unquote strategic plan, so.
By
Now we got
policy,
four-
your board or our board is supposed to have that in place, and that is part of board governance.
Yeah, but some of them are,
I know we got 4 committees supposedly working on it, so.
Those committees were gone because this was done.
okay.
Moving along.
That was it, I think. That was all I had. That was all I had.
Thank you for opening that back up, so. All
Well, if it's
right.
not done, I'm glad we know.
Yes.
Because I certainly didn't know.
Okay. Report on the after-school
This
program.
is news to me, too.
Yes, ma'am, please,
Should be a
Ms.
mic
Brown.
for you someplace.
Ms. Gadget.
So that-
I believe the mic is probably on the podium as it is usually so listed. Arlene?
Gotta make sure the folks at home can hear you.
Hello. I feel like everyone can hear me. It's on, right? I'm Jenna Godrew, and I am in charge of the kindergarten through fourth grade after-school program. And I'm just here to report, we've done a little bit of testing. I know we've been out for a few long periods of time, so this data, whenever I had pulled it, was just kind of, it was really refreshing to see this. So Paula and I thought that we would just talk to you guys a little bit. You guys had a big part in us being able to fund this after-school program. So currently, in the kindergarten through fourth grade, we have 70 students, and 69% of these students have all improved on their developmental reading assessment. So this is a DRA. This is an assessment that all students take in the elementary school, and so 69% of our 70 students have increased. Some were small increases, some were big jumps. We actually have dismissed 3 students from the program and brought on 3 more. So that's a pretty big thing for us for only doing this for a few months. We had 27% of our students are now on grade level on this program. So this is also, 30% of our students, this is very, very exciting. So I don't know in the past if it looked like this also, but we're going to blame it on our teachers' fabulous work and our after-school program. Did you
Yes,
have
ma'am,
any-
I did have a question. So since you dismissed or kind of graduated 3 students out of the program and brought 3 more in, is there a wait list or other students who are looking to get into
So
these
far,
programs?
we do not have a waiting list. We've been kind of open to taking people in if parents are interested.
I knew it was a referral process or a parent could ask
Yeah,
to be
they
in
just
so
contact
as
building
well.
principal
Okay.
or Paula or I. I'm not sure what they look like a little bit in the older grades, but in the elementary building, we haven't had a waiting list yet. So the class sizes are still below 10, which is pretty awesome as well. So we've got a lot of intentional small groups, lots of really neat things going. So just a few things that we have purchased, some programs I wanted to tell you about. We're working on things with phonemic awareness and phonics, high frequency words and fluency, vocab, handwriting, spelling, all in an hour and 15 minutes. But the program that we've purchased, it's called Foundations, and it is getting all of our students to either be college or career ready, which is very impactful for little students. So that's an exciting thing. And then the last but not least, I wanted to also thank Whitney O'Brien. She has been coming in with the Nest bus and doing on Mondays an enrichment program with the exact same students that are with us throughout the week for the tutoring. We've been working on coding. That has been really impactful to see the students also, instead of just working on things that they have been bad at or haven't excelled at, but now they're working on things that they get to see other students, and it makes them feel really prideful that they're able to, look, I put this robot together and my robot moved on its own, or it's just exciting stuff happening. So again, thank you all for helping and approving the funds to help all of our students.
How does the Foundations program work? How does it work?
It is, so it starts in the really low, in kindergarten, and it's like an intervention process. So kind of like how we have our OWL time, we have our students that are on a tier 1 level that don't need a lot of help, and then it moves progressively.
Visual and-
Yep, lots of visuals. It's a lot of learning just the sounds of each letter before you even begin to read. And then everybody has room to grow. Even myself, I could work on maybe comprehension of what I'm reading. So it's got a level for everyone, and we've broken down all of the levels, and each teacher has students that are all on the same level. So did that answer anything else? Any other questions?
Okay, hello, I'm Paula Brown, principal at Beaker. Middle school, after-school tutoring looks just a little bit different. Our data is collected through our DNF list, so on Tuesday and Thursday, that is what we focus on, is increasing those grades. We had 95 students in tutoring, and actually so much more interest on the tutoring side of things than the enrichment. So I moved a couple teachers around to do tutoring on Mondays as well. So we kept our classes between 10, 15, and then we added another teacher because we needed another teacher, and then you asked about a wait list, and we had that too. Kids need the extra help in that intervention, and sometimes there's just not enough time in the day, so that extra time after school is important.
So when you're saying there was a wait list there, is there still a wait list there?
So, well, let me finish up with second quarter. So
Okay.
in second quarter, we had 58% of students that raised a D or an F, a whole letter grade. So that's a lot, and that's really, when we looked at that list, that's what we decided to focus on, was the DNFs, and tried to remediate any like missing work or any concepts that needed to be retaught for those kiddos. So we are on like a new round. Since we finished second semester, we reevaluated that list, and we have, some of the kids are the same, some have graduated out, like what Jenna said. So some kids aren't in the group anymore, but after we get through this next week, then we will start the waiting list again, because we had kiddos that maybe originally didn't qualify for failing grades, but they could use extra help. So after we went through everybody that had the failing grades and they were offered the opportunity to come after school, which some, didn't want to, and that's their choice, then we started accepting kiddos that maybe parents wanted to, or teachers had said, hey, they could use some extra help. So after this next week, whenever we finalize those lists, because we started that all over for third quarter, then we'll accept those waitlist kids. I kind of found out that 7th and 8th grade kids aren't real enthused about enrichment on Mondays. So that's why we took some of those enrichment teachers. Well, and they get to do sports. They have other after-school opportunities. So we kind of switch gears and use some of those enrichment teachers to offer those tutoring opportunities instead of, so we kind of use them in a different way, and they were willing and wanting to do that. So this time we are offering different enrichments for third quarter. 5th grade is going to have Genius Hour, and there's going to be 2 teachers there for that, and it's kind of finding what they're interested in, researching those passions, and then taking it from there. So it's very individualized and student-driven for the 5th grade group. 6th, 7th, and 8th, we're kind of doing a blend, so we can have multi-grade levels together, just to make sure we have full groups. They're going to be doing mythology. I have a teacher doing art and another teacher doing keyboard and crafts, which I thought was really neat. They're going to use music-inspired ideas and then do crafts and literature that go along with those things. So they were really creative, and kind of once we did one go around, we're like, oh, hey, we kind of need to redo what enrichment looks like for kids after we went one quarter with that. So I think we had about 40 kids last semester in enrichment, and we're hoping to have that or a little bit more for enrichment. But I really feel like having almost 100 kids with tutoring and over half of those kids improving their grades is a lot to say for the effort that teachers, but also kids are putting in. Not a lot of middle school kids want to stay after school, and sometimes it's a struggle and tracking people down, but I really think that should be something that should be applauded for all of those people that have participated. And like Ms. Godrew said, we appreciate you guys approving that time. I think that it's been a large benefit. And, it might make summer school look a little bit different. Generally, at our level, we look at maybe kiddos that were at risk for failing, and we're trying to get everything back because they're behind, where if we're not so far behind, then our focus for summer school could look different. And I think that's very exciting to maybe have that prospect when we're looking at what summer school could be like for our middle school kids. So any questions or things that I didn't cover?
You said 100 kids, basically?
95 attended tutoring.
So that's about 1/8 of your population, is
Yep.
what it sounds like?
Yep.
Okay, so- And you all are identifying these kids and and sending that stuff out, but parents still can reach out to you if they
Yeah.
feel their child needs to,
Yep,
correct?
absolutely, and that's actually kind of how we ended up with a third day of tutoring, because there wasn't as large of an interest for the enrichment piece, so I was like, well, we can put these people to work in another way on Mondays, so we were able to expand that kind of past what our quota teacher-student ratio was. We were able to add some teachers on an extra day to get to a few more kids, so, yeah, it's
Thank
it's
you
been
to
good.
both of you for some positive things to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank,
Were there any more questions? Sorry. Before no?
No, I didn't.
Thank you, ladies. All right. Moving on to old business. Revision of policy for public comment. I was not here last time. I know we received some information on the day of the meeting, just very shortly before the meeting, from the attorney on some advisement of some wording changes, some areas that she thought we may want to revisit, and some strategic or legalese that she thought we should maybe follow a little bit more. So I know this went out to us, and I just bought another copy in tonight with a few more revisions to it. So we will start there. Some of the revisions that she also submitted or thought we should correct were things that I felt that this board wanted to be more approachable and give a little bit more ability to the community. So we left some parts in that she advised us not to. So when I kind of brought this back to everyone tonight, there's a few things in here that she said you may not want to go in this water, but I thought we should step into it and see where we are. So we all have this copy, and so we'll turn it over for comments now.
I read it, looked like you did a good job on this, Brian. Ed's just pointed out something here that I need Aaron's expert eye. Aaron, would you look at the 5 minutes and the 3 minutes, top and bottom? Is that a contradiction?
Yeah, well, see, that part in the gray is just there.
No,
Below the gray.
below the gray, we got a 5 and a 3.
Where are you
On
looking?
number one at the bottom.
Number 1 at the bottom,
And then the first one where it says the board will establish a time limit. If you read down, it says a maximum
5 minutes.
Are you talking, so in the paper that you have, the top that you have is our effective policy,
Okay.
BDDDH-1. So the top with the bullet points is what we are currently using. Everything that says proposed in the middle of your page down is what we're looking at including
Okay.
in something new.
All right.
So our current policy is about a paragraph long, and our new policy will be about 3/4 of a page, time we remove some of the strike-throughs and other areas. So we are changing the time limit from 5 minutes to 3 minutes to allow for greater discussion. But of course, we do want to hear from people, so I think that we are open to listening maybe a little bit longer, depending on who's here, not who, but how many people are here to speak on a given topic on an evening.
Yeah, the only things I've seen so far are just tidying things, like on point number 4, each person desiring to be heard should, when recognized by the president, shall step, things like that. And we can parse through those things here and now. We can do some copy editing.
I am not a English major, so I am more of an idea guy, so I get the ideas down on paper, and if we need to polish leaving the gist of the document as it stands, then of course that is something that we still can do.
So let's talk big ideas. The big ideas here that are different that I see so far, or, let's see, each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, okay, which can be extended by the president or majority vote of the board. It's hard for me to imagine, I understand why the language is there, but it's hard for me to imagine stopping somebody after 3 minutes and then having everybody take a vote to see if we want to have more time. But I can see why that language is there. It seems prudent to have this proviso that it can be extended by the president, right? I'm just wondering what the distance from that option to the other option is, right? So let's say you want to stop my mom from going into a fourth minute of talking, right? But everybody else here is dying to hear what Marsha Williams has to say. So then do I call a vote? Like, what does that mechanism look like?
So that mechanism would look like that any board member could ask for a vote for something to be
I guess
extended.
that's true.
I would hope that the person in this seat, whether it's me or someone else in the future, because this policy will of course be everlasting until it is changed again, would be willing to listen to someone as long as they were not going out of order, and that's why there's some out of order speech that is later on in there. I did remove some things that, if you choose to defame, slander, or other things, that is your ability to have freedom of speech. We did have a couple of common areas in there where if you were speaking derogatorily towards someone or negative, then the president would kind of shut you off and call you out of order. You are your own person. If you choose to sit up here and do something like that on a public stage, and those repercussions also fall on you personally as an individual. So I removed those so that we would have the ability for freedom of speech.
Pass muster with the attorneys?
Yes. She said that they would have to take their own liability in those areas.
Sure, okay.
They are not speaking as the board, they're speaking as a
have the
person
FBI.
to the
Of course,
board.
yeah. Is there anything, so, okay, I'm trying to hit big changes, right? So is it clear enough that, is the procedure clear enough? Because I was trying to imagine, what if I am somebody who wants to come up and talk to the board? How do I make that happen? So I'm looking at point number 2, right? So I can comment on anything that's on the agenda. And then there's something else that says I can talk about things that aren't on the agenda, right?
Only if you submit it
5 days, but is that in the grayed out section? Yeah.
Require 5 days notification for adding to the printed public agenda.
And right now, that section in the gray is the stuff that is kind of being suggested as excised as not only redundant, but perhaps contradictory, or have I misunderstood?
I'm sorry, I answered another question.
That's fine. So this section is stuff that,
This section were things that the attorney said you're opening yourself up maybe for comments or other areas that you may not want to get into.
I got you.
And that is where I felt that we wanted to give that ability for people to approach us with those kind of conversations, to have those conversations. The attorney said that she felt that this would give a way to bypass the normal chains of command for people that weren't satisfied with their initial answers to come and speak directly to the board versus taking things to their principal level, their superintendents and things like that. Our audience is so large here at the meetings. As I'm looking with you all out here, I thought if people want to come in and speak that badly, then we're encouraging that interaction. That at least is physical interaction versus email stops at other times. This will be a time that they could come and put that out a little bit more publicly. If this causes a commotion or some kind of negative backlash, then we may have to revisit that in the future. But I wanted people to have the ability to come and do that. As far as timelines, you can walk up to us before the meeting starts and says, I want to talk about XYZ tonight. As well as you can email the board, any particular member of the board, as long as it makes it to the president of the board, so that it can be added to the agenda appropriately. So,
okay, so that's with keeping that grayed out language.
yes,
on the first page
and that
there.
is the reason of keeping that grayed out language that she said you probably may not want to.
Aaron,
Yep,
would you check out number 3 for me? I believe that should be changed to the desire, the last line of 3. Double check me on that before I make a mistake here.
Sorry. No, you're right. I mean, it's just a small thing.
Just, all right. Just have to kick that S off.
Yeah,
Brian.
exactly, yeah. I already marked through it on my copy.
Oh, you're already ahead of me.
So,
Why are you
I'm
always
asking-
ahead of me? You're even ahead of me in class.
Yes, ma'am.
so the open comment, they can come up and discuss anything on the agenda? That's what number 1 is saying.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
But then,
Then the grayed out section says, if you're talking about something that's not, so it seems like that section that's in the grayed out portion maybe should be part of point number 1. Is that where you're going with this?
Well, I'm just curious.
Because like one's about things that are already on the agenda, but then another thing is about things that are not on the agenda.
Yeah.
Right.
So they have to ask permission, for anything that's not on the agenda, they have to ask permission 5 days before. But our agendas don't necessarily
Right.
come out 5 days before, so how do they know if
And
it's on the
that-
agenda or not?
That's a problem.
Well, no,
We can
but
talk
that's just
about that
it.
one.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
That's the first question I have.
And if we need to change that number, that's fine. Our agenda is usually posted, usually on the Friday before, correct me if I'm wrong, Thursday before. So that is actually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and of course tonight. So there is usually 5 days before. Doesn't mean everybody's read it five
Right,
days before.
Right, you might not get it.
Yes,
What's the philosophy about having the 5-day heads up for things that aren't on the agenda? Just so that it gets printed in due time?
Most districts only take comments that people notify them about. So the reason that you have to post the agenda at least 5 days in advance is to allow people to come to the place. That's why you have to have a place large enough for people to attend, large enough to be heard, or a system for people to be able to understand or hear your meetings. And then to be added to that typed into agenda so that other people are aware. So this kind of waives that right somewhat. But if there's something that's not on the agenda that you wish to be included or talked about, this is where that comes into play. And then by being able to come in on the night of, that is where you could come in and ask to be put on the agenda for something that maybe is something that came up within that 5-day period.
Oh, yeah. Notify
So
the
that's
president at
on,
the time.
okay.
All other comments and speakers can notify the president at the time of the meeting or through recognition by the president. And so recognition by the president, like, I'm going to guess, at the designated time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, at or before.
That would be if, just for instance, Mr. Lynn, since you're here tonight, if he waved his hands and I wanted to recognize him, then we could do that. And I would say, hey, what is the topic that you wish to speak about or the comment that you wish to be made? So,
Okay.
Is that, is number 2, just so I know I'm reading that right, is that, is that opening up a free-for-all?
This whole thing is opening up a free-for-all.
I mean, I'm
No,
just
it's a bad
saying,
thing.
number 2, I mean, it sounds like when we go through when they go through these reports, it doesn't specify that someone would need to be recognized or,
So,
Oh.
Matt, what you're
I
saying
mean, it's
is
basically saying that if
the
somebody doesn't
timing,
like something on a report, they can just
Speak
spout
up at
out a
any
question
moment.
and on a
So,
non-action item.
so of the way, so if we need to
Yeah, we got-
amend that, but everyone who speaks at the board meeting is supposed to be recognized or on the agenda.
Okay.
So we may need to leave just a little line in there about recognition from the president,
well, it
because that's
seems
the
like,
person who runs the meeting, but
it seems like point number 2 is just redundant, because look, if you wanted to talk about something that was on the agenda, we already gave you the mechanisms for talking about that during
Right.
the public comment part of all this. If you want to talk about something that's just during the
So,
meeting.
so number 1 talks about things that are action items, number 2 talks about things that are discussions.
So like the
Oh, that's not
reports,
clear on that
so like your superintendent report, if somebody had a comment on that, they would need to be recognized, but then they could make a comment.
Yes.
That's what number 2
Yes.
allows for.
Well,
Yes.
I don't like that.
that language is not clear.
I don't disagree, but that's
Sure,
the,
sure.
that's the
Oh, I
intent of the
get-
rule.
I get the intention now. But I think Matt's right to say that there's nothing in here addressing timing. So members of the public can comment on items on the board's agenda during the meeting, or during the public comment section, or both, or how,
Oh, I
or
see.
what.
Yeah.
Or
See
you
what I'm
just
saying?
combine 2 and 3.
Yeah. Right, right.
You know, when said comment is in order, the president shall announce and ask person desire to come forward.
Sure,
Because
but
you can't, I mean, I want to hear what
Should-
people have to say.
should have handed
but you
out
can't
homework a
sit
little bit
back there
earlier.
and-
I don't like the idea of an employee getting up here and giving their report and potentially being attacked by a person in the audience, if they don't like something that the district's employee is talking about at that time. I don't think that's an appropriate action.
So I think there needs to be an appropriate suggestion of change. So what is it you all wish to change that to? I'm fine with that. I don't believe that our employees should be attacked on the spot for giving a report.
Right.
And a parent that is possibly disgruntled with a
Right.
particular
I think all we need.
section, so.
For number 2, first of all, I wouldn't have it at number 2. I'd have it like way down the list because it's not, it's sort of like an addendum on all of this. But I would have it say something more along the lines of, and this is just the Aaron speak version of it. If you want to talk while the meeting's going on, but not during the public comment section, got to be recognized by the president, or no dice.
Right.
But that goes down at the end. Now, if we're still missing something that says, if you want to talk about something that's a non-action item, or just an information item, that also has to be brought up during the public comment section. Or the board president could recognize you, but then that needs to be in point number 1.
Well, yeah. Of course, the whole intent was to encourage people to come and speak.
Yeah.
And this-
We want you to talk.
And anytime you do that, we've got all kinds of,
Yeah.
compared to what I see on TV each night, we're lucky here, so.
So,
And those were the statements where the attorney said you could be opening yourself up for conversations or things that you may not want to happen at your board meeting.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so,
but,
we want
but we
freedom,
need the
but we
public
gotta
comment. Or
Right.
else we look like we don't care what the public has to say.
Okay, so here, for number 1, it seems like a simple fix. The public shall have the right to comment on all items on the board's agenda that are to be voted upon by the board, parentheses, action items, and non-action items. And each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, which can be extended by the board president or majority of. If a member of the public wishes to speak about something during the meeting outside of the designated public comment time, comma, that person must be recognized by the board president. And then strike number 2.
Agreed.
I am fine with that language. If anyone else has any more comments or suggestions
I'll type quickly.
or motions,
You want a motion?
if you all are ready,
Oh,
so.
well, yeah, there's like a whole other page, so.
I was going to say, there is a back page as well to this,
Y'all need
so.
to flip that page.
I was hoping she wouldn't do
If
it.
4 through 10 strike anyone's fancy as
I want to get
well.
home before midnight.
That's why I said maybe I should have sent the homework out a little sooner, so.
Well, we can always table it too, if we need
No,
to. I
let's
mean,
get it
heavens
done
knows, Brian has had a lot going on as the board president, what with fires and COVID stuff, and we as a board have also had lots of things
Yeah.
going on. I've probably been the least busy of all of you guys. So, that's, if you guys do want to table it,
The back is actually more pretty straightforward
yay.
than the front.
She make any more changes yet?
So here on number 5, we once again say comments by any one person are limited to 3 minutes.
Yeah, that-
Where we said that in number 1 as well.
We did.
We can strike 5. We've already talked about 3 minutes. Is that where you're
We
going?
did.
Yes.
For redundancy? Yes,
And
sir.
there's also time limit of 3 minutes will be used on number 4.
And 5.
I don't know how many times we need to say that.
Well,
Well-
number 4 talks about process, because we want people to
Okay.
come up so that they're heard by other people. So that is actually to come up front and to address the room versus speaking from your area. That's just kind of a, procedural, how we'd like that to look.
Okay, understood?
I'm wondering if in number 4 then, we should put when the time limit starts. Does it start when they pick themselves up out of their seat? Does it start when they get to the podium?
The time always starts when someone starts speaking.
I know this,
Yeah.
but, I mean, does that need to be, I don't care if it's in the language, I'm asking if it needs to be.
I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
We do have a problem, Brian.
What's that, sir?
Number 8.
Number 8.
You didn't finish the sentence.
There's a one.
Any person who is continuously called out of order by the president,
Shall
who
be.
disrupts the board meeting, or who having been admonished by the president, then you got to finish it. So we got to pick up something from the gray. You see what I'm talking about?
Probably with the shall in the next sentence down,
Yeah,
because the intent was to take out
right,
the continues to make remarks section
right.
and the derogatory, because that's where we came back in with the freedoms.
Yeah. that's
And so
what
the president shall.
I would recommend that.
Mhm.
And I hope we don't ever get to 9.
We don't have police here anyway, so I don't know how to follow up.
So number 8, does everyone get where we come with having been admonished by the president shall leave, and leaving the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Step
8,
back.
9, 10, 11, the other 12 words out between from continues and organizations?
Yeah.
I move we accept the proposal with the revisions that we put together here tonight.
Second time.
Aaron, have you finished reading while you were reviewing?
Let me just make sure
She-
here.
She started proofreading a little bit before everyone else.
That's true.
We haven't enacted this rule yet, Mr. Lentz. No.
To be fair, I had already struck through a few different things, so,
Care to share?
huh?
Care to share?
Oh, just the 3-minute, 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 3-minute stuff. Number 4, each, but that one I already said, the should and shall. Consideration received. Well, so then what's going on with number 7? The president may rule out of order comments that are not addressed as subject matter. Only comments that are addressed as subject matter of the approved agenda items will be received, but, so we're back to that infinite loop of, did you get it on the agenda, is it not on the agenda, and, so we can add things,
We can
right?
remove 7.
Okay.
I believe we
fantastic.
cover that in 1 and
Wonderful.
3,
Excellent.
and in the first paragraph.
Yes.
So we will need an amended motion.
So, oh yeah, Harry, you willing to amend your motion?
Yes, I am, but unfortunately, I'm looking at number 7.
No, we.
Number 7, we're going to kick out.
Oh, okay, good.
So
Yes,
that's
I'll
why we're
amend my
looking for-
motion, call a question.
All those in favor of the public policy B, Ed seconded it initially,
Aye.
of public policy BDDH-1 with the cited revisions and replacing our previous public comment, please say so by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Abstaining?
Good job, Mr. President.
Yeah, nice.
Pieces of my homework anyone else wants to grade?
You got an A on your homework.
Good thing they didn't have a red pen.
Felt
got an A on
like
your
high school
homework.
again, so.
You even got it by Aaron, you got an A,
All right.
bud.
It's a B.
I think that would have been at least B- work, but that's all right.
I was gonna say B minus, I don't want to hurt you.
Oh, my.
All right, moving along to B underneath old business, HR secretary. We have all been looking over some job descriptions and items and seeing where those kind of line up. And so I had heard before discussion, we can look at if we feel we need this position or if we need to table this position pending farther discussion and movement, so.
Did the superintendent hear back from the CPA firm about, did they weigh in on this at all? Well, she's not here, so.
Thanks. I haven't heard any follow-up.
Okay. Well, yeah, short of any input from the experts in the field,
Yeah, I got it.
seems like we should table it.
I'll make a motion, we table that.
Second.
All those in favor of the table, please say so by aye.
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 Any opposed?
We're voting on whether
I'm
we
going to
should-
abstain from that HR secretary on On B?
Yeah, we're on 10B.
10B, sir. And then there's an update on the Safe Return to Schools plan. I believe that would be you, Dr. Lawrence.
I mentioned that in the early part of her program. Every 30 days, you guys have to approve that, I guess. There was just some minor updates that I read off to you there.
Did anybody have any questions about those updates that we did here earlier?
So basically, the admins are just making the decisions about school based on health and safety from
Numbers.
numbers.
basically.
Yep.
Stay in every chance we get.
I move that we accept that and stay in school.
Yeah, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? So, we are also looking at, under new business, our legal and audit services. Of course, those numbers were given to us a little bit. We've all had some rather lengthy packets to look over from the 5 agencies that gave us information. So, discussion on legal services will start first.
I went off and left all of my little packets at home.
I looked them over last night, and there didn't seem to be a lot of difference. I mean, as far as services go, there's a lot of legal speak that, in those.
Well, what we got were basically promotional packets. Some of them were directed a little bit more to our district and a little more tailored to us, probably in a more clever marketing approach, and others were not. So I did do some independent research on some of the firms personally, just because I was curious on how some of their relations have been with other places and other areas as well, but instead of just reading all their promotional materials. I've never put out any promotional material about anything I've worked with that said that we don't do a good job.
Yeah.
So I kind of was wondering what a good job looked like with other people that they had worked with before and some of the people that they actually named in their packets. So, Harry, yes, sir.
Is this hiring and should this be an executive session?
I missed that. Okay.
This is
Only
a
if we
question,
were talking about.
point of order
No,
from,
this is a bid situation,
Ah,
and it
okay.
is an open situation because they're bidding on services.
didn't look at
So
it.
we had to put that out as a RFP, for lack of a better term, or
because I was
request.
just wondering.
Look, I've made no secret about the fact that I think change is good. And in fact, I think, Brad, you were kind of leading that as well, saying, having fresh eyes on things is really beneficial. It's common practice in your industry.
Yep.
So, but I'm also with Matt that at the end of the day, of the two, for me, it came down to, and I looked at all 3 of them, but of the 2 that were not the current legal firm that we're working with, it's not exactly 1/2 dozen of the other, but they're pretty similar.
Yeah.
So for me, it just came down to which one's the more affordable one, and that was not the Ed Council, but the Guin, is it Guin?
Ewan Mondorf,
Mundorf, yeah.
for lack
Mundorf.
of a correct pronunciation.
Yeah,
Aren't they the ones that we currently use though?
No, what we currently use is Chipwood
no,
and,
Tooth
or Tooth-Keeney.
Yeah.
Yes,
Which-
sorry.
What was put on the board a while ago is a little deceiving for Tooth-Keeney, because that's not, the higher end of what they charge is not what they charge all the time. That's just if other parts of their legal services have to be involved. When we're dealing with our normal contact, it's a much cheaper rate than what is up there, according to their packet, anyway.
Ed Council, which was one that was up there, Ed Council
Yeah.
work particularly with just school districts. They do a lot with school district law. I believe they were housed out of Columbia, Missouri.
Columbia, or St. Louis, Kansas City, and Springfield is where their offices are at.
well, and those
No.
numbers aren't the numbers that I saw in the packets. So
No.
from Ed Council, I didn't get that one written down, but I had, from Guin Mundorf, I had their fee structure ranged from $125 an hour to $235 an hour. And then from Tooth-Keeney, I had $165 to $285. So I don't know how that got knocked around over there, but when I did the reading, it was different. Oh, yeah, I even wrote down, no, I wrote down in Ed Council, I missed the fee structure here. right? Like, so if it was in that packet, I just missed it.
I don't think it was.
So that doesn't exactly instill confidence in me now that I think
I don't
about
think their fee
it?
structure was in the packet at all.
All right, so I don't know where that came from.
So, underneath legal services, is there a motion to employ one firm?
I mean, based on that, I'll move for Ewan Mundorf.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I will.
Okay. I'm going to, yes, sir.
Any discussion?
Well, I was just gonna ask, so the red below all that, you're in the middle of litigation, what would that look like?
One of
Yeah.
the things I did write down for Ewan Mundorf was that they, and I tried to find it for Ed Council too, was that they directly addressed taking on ongoing litigation and that handoff process. That was something that I was looking for in the packets. Do you even address what that handoff looks like? Because it happens all the time. Firms hand off litigation all the time. So what does that process look like for you? And you and Mundorf was the only ones that I saw that really addressed it even.
I was going to say, attorneys are very familiar with picking up packets on current legal measures. Does it mean that there's going to be some, there might be some fees that we incur by moving along with someone else as well? So apparently there's also, paralegals also will be doing some work on the low end of that, and also the attorneys are probably the ones on the higher end of that.
Dr. Mayer's on the phone, so.
Real
You wanna
eager,
go- you wanna go
real
on,
eager to
speak.
keep tooth keeney.
Okay, just a second. Okay, just a second. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
There, you said you were about to say something about paralegals?
The low end of the scale are paralegal ends, where the 125 was noted. I only put the range for actual attorneys.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fair.
So, even though there is current litigation,
Also, on Ed Council, they did not include their fee schedule, and so I contacted them and said it wasn't in there. They said it wasn't asked, it wasn't requested. I would think that all proposals would want a fee schedule. However, he did send me the schedule, and it was for the 190 to 210.
Which is also a good, that's a reasonable rate.
Okay.
thank you, Dr. Mayor, for weighing in from home. I know you're feeling ill. Thank you.
I'll be happy to answer any other questions that I.
Does anyone
Have
have any
any
other
other
questions for her before we move to
I
discussion?
mean,
or finish
do these
discussion?
have like success rates, pros for districts? Or do you just guess on who you want? Like,
Ewan Mundorf was the only one that had a list of recent successful litigation, which in my experience, copywriting and copy editing for legal firms is pretty pro forma, but, so I was a little surprised not to see
Okay.
it for the other two.
And also sometimes showing your wins, for lack of a better term, you're not counting all your losses either.
I get it, I'm just asking,
But they,
I
but
get
they
it.
did cite some.
Brian,
And
you
I
said,
will say that Tuath Keeney has never ended up with a bad outcome for the district.
Well,
That's very legal terms, but so far as I know, we have never ended up in a bad situation.
Dr. Lorenz, if you could hold her on there for just a moment in case we need some other information when we get to the auditing chat, if you could just have her hold on for a moment in case there's some other clarity that we need on that part. And right now, there is a motion on the floor, and I believe was seconded to accept Ewan Mundorf.
but it can die as well. Well, no, I guess we got to vote for it and decide
Yes.
to call it back. I mean, the fee schedule for Ed Council is also reasonable. And so if somebody wanted to make an argument for them too.
No, I just said I still have.
I didn't appreciate not having the fees in the book.
Yeah, that just,
Because, I mean, that's what we requested.
it just was reasonable.
Well, the letter, they put our letter in the front of the book requesting the pricing, and then they didn't put the pricing. I mean, that's what we're deciding. There's no time frame on these, correct? Like, this is not a contract, this is just,
Yeah, there's,
Yes, we're contracting for legal services, yes.
but I mean,
So
there's
the
no.
duration.
It's not a
Yes.
3-year, 5-year, 7-year.
yeah, we'll bid it back out.
I thought it was it a 3-year? I thought it was a 3-year. Was it annual?
Or wait, was this the one where where we had that
I
conversation?
don't think there's an actual time frame.
No.
I think they
I
recommend
think-
looking at
yeah, I
it
think-
for
Not one on
5
legal.
years.
Right.
There is
Yeah.
one on-
Yeah, there is one
But
on
there is a-
auditing. It was 3 on auditing.
There is a recommendation on
Yes.
the auditing.
And didn't in the audit, they said they recommended a change or a discussion after so long, which
It
is
was
what.
3 to 5
Which
years,
has
I believe.
regurgitated this. I mean, that's what's happened. That's what's brought this up, and then,
Yes.
Aaron's
So as I
aware,
said,
so-
there was a motion for a particular company at this time. I'm going to take a vote on that unless there's further discussion on that, and then if that dies, then we will go ahead.
Sounds good.
All right. So all those in favor of Gwen Mundorf, please say so by saying aye.
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 That sounded like Ed, Brad, myself,
And Aaron.
and Aaron. All those opposed, please say nay.
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 Anyone abstaining? That sounded like 7 total. So no one did.
Harry, Ellen.
Harry,
Matt.
Ellen, and Brad were nay.
Oh, Brad or Matt?
That was Matt.
No, that
Or
was
was that
Matt.
Matt?
Second
Matt,
time.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Brad was the
Matt said
first
no
one,
after
sorry.
this.
So we will be changing counsel to Gwen Mundorf at this time for our upcoming year. Auditing services. We had a bid from our current auditing firm, $14,000, and then from Westbrook and Company for $16,900.
So I was torn on this one because Chitwood's been, pretty straightforward. I'm always going to try to err on the side of a lower price, but I was wondering if what's going on here is that Westbrook had a more hands-on process and would come down and actually talk to at least quote-unquote management/admin, if not the board themselves. And that's what was leading to the higher price, because after all, their hourly rate was $85 to $185 an hour, depending on which member of the staff you're working with. Whereas with Chitwood, it's $150 to $200 an hour. So maybe we're getting a little bit more out of Westbrook, but it is costing us more. So just those are genuine questions.
Well, are we getting more out of Westbrook the first year, but not the second, once they're familiar? Like the other is, I mean, I don't know. That's,
Okay.
it wasn't clear in the
I'm
package.
just hanging on.
But
I don't know that the difference in the price for auditing services that our staff are familiar with and comfortable with is worth a change. That would be my first
Doc, Is there anything
very
that
initial
Dr. Mayer
process.
would like to include in this discussion before you get off the phone with her? Or is that already too late?
Did you have
She
anything you
already
wanted
recommended stay,
to
but once we
include
go-
about auditing with 33 Chitwood?
I know.
Well, I've recommended them. I highly recommend them, but they're not taking my recommendation, so.
All right.
All
So
right.
moving along
Hang on.
on that, I need a recommendation for us to accept one audit service for tonight.
I move that we, well, hell, I don't know how to answer that now.
Maintain the one we've got. Is that where you're going?
I mean, yeah,
I'll move for Westbrook. If anybody wants to drop it, then move for the other one.
So there's a motion for Westbrook. Is there a second?
Because to me, I think either one would be fine. But
I'm
all
going
for
to give it a couple of
change.
I'll
seconds
move
for.
that we keep GKC.
Okay.
So since there wasn't a second for Westbrook, and I still don't hear that, then that motion would die for lack of support, and then we will go to, for GKC,
If it gets a second.
as Ellen said, and we're looking for a second of that. Anyone?
I'll second.
No, not
Ed, second.
Ed, which one you seconding?
The one we currently have.
So Ed is seconding on our current legal firm at $14,000. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And are there any opposed or abstaining?
I'm abstaining.
Abstain.
I can't concentrate on making a decision after I get comments like that in my ear.
I don't
So I'm
disagree.
gonna
All right.
abstain from that vote.
So, we will be looking to move to closed session. The vote was 5-2 with 2 abstentions. And we are going to be moving to closed session for legal actions involving the district attorney and communications, hiring, terminating, disciplining, and promoting, personnel records, evaluations, and applications.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Wait, roll.
By roll call vote.
Aye.
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 And aye. Thank you.